crowned in the fire, the revolutionary power of softness. Have you ever felt like you're being burned alive by life's challenges? Like the heat is so intense, you're certain nothing good could possibly come from this pain. I recently had the privilege of interviewing Toy Whitlock, a visionary who is quite literally transforming how we view hardship, particularly for Black women navigating professional spaces. Her insights weren't just thought provoking, they were revolutionary, paradigm shifting, soul awakening. Toy has dedicated her life to helping people transform their relationship with suffering, turning what could destroy them into what ultimately crowns them. Her work has created ripples of healing across communities that have historically been told to simply endure rather than thrive. What struck me most about our conversation was her radical reframing of life's most painful moments, not as destruction, but as a crowning. Think about that for a moment. What if the fire isn't consuming you? What if it's actually crowning you? When metal is forged, it passes through extreme heat. That process doesn't weaken it, it strengthens it, purifies it, prepares it for its ultimate purpose. According to Toy, we're no different. The question isn't whether we'll face fire, the question is, what will we become in the flames? I want to share three profound insights from my conversation with Toy that might just change how you view your struggles forever. First, your pain has purpose. That heartbreak, that rejection, that moment when everything fell apart, it wasn't random cruelty from the universe. It wasn't punishment. It wasn't even bad luck. It was preparation, elevation, the beginning of your crowning. I was particularly moved by the story of Marnitia Toulouse, who Toy highlighted in our conversation. Marnit, he has spent years in high pressure corporate environments where the unspoken rule was crystal clear: sacrifice everything, your health, your peace, your authenticity, on the altar of productivity. Like so many Black professionals, she inherited a generational pressure to be superhuman, to endure what others couldn't, to suppress her own needs while meeting everyone else's expectations. The fire got hot, really hot. But instead of being consumed by it, Marnitia did something revolutionary. She questioned the entire premise. Why was her worth tied to her capacity for suffering? Why was her strength measured by how much abuse she could tolerate without complaint? Why was her excellence defined by how thoroughly she could erase her own humanity? In that questioning, something beautiful happened. Marnithaya created spaces, physical and digital, where Black professionals could embrace rest without guilt, set boundaries without fear, practice authenticity without judgment. She launched workshops that are now recognized industry wide for transforming workplace culture. The fire didn't destroy her, it crowned her as a leader of a movement. Thousands have found healing through her approach. People report improved mental health, deeper relationships, and interestingly, greater career satisfaction. It turns out that when you stop trying to prove your worth through suffering, you actually become more effective, not less. This brings me to Toy's second insight. True strength isn't about silent suffering or showing up as unbreakable. Real power lies in vulnerability, authenticity, and here's the revolutionary part: choosing softness as a form of self preservation and radical leadership. We've been sold a dangerous myth, particularly in Black excellence narratives, that strength means constant sacrifice, that leadership means giving until there's nothing left, no, that success requires burning yourself at both ends. Toy challenges us to flip the script entirely. Consider Landis Harwell, another powerful example Toy shared. Landis struggled with chronic exhaustion from internalizing messages that equated productivity with worthiness, a narrative all too common among Black women professionals. The more she achieved, the more hollow her victories felt, because she was achieving them at the cost of her well being. The turning point came when Landis witnessed her own health deteriorate under the weight of relentless striving. Instead of pushing through, which our culture would celebrate as resilience, she made the radical choice to prioritize rest, not as a temporary retreat to recharge for more hustle, but as a fundamental reorientation of her relationship with achievement. Landis developed frameworks that placed rest alongside ambition, not as opposing forces, but as essential partners. She created boundary setting practices and redefined personal success metrics beyond hustle alone. The results: her community members report reclaiming joy, improved health outcomes, financial empowerment through smarter choices, not harder work, and authentic self expression both at work and at home. By choosing softness, by refusing to participate in burnout culture, Landis didn't diminish her impact, she amplified it. Her programs have liberated countless individuals from burnout cycles while elevating new models for sustainable leadership rooted in wellness. This is what Toy means when she says softness is power. It's not about being weak or passive, it's about being intentional with your energy. It's about recognizing that your uh, worth isn't tied to your output. It's about leading from a place of wholeness rather than depletion. And here's where it gets really interesting. When you embrace this philosophy, you don't just transform your own life, you create permission for others to do the same. You become a walking revolution. Which brings me to Toy's third insight: you don't have to look like what you've been through. Tyra and Bria Black, creators of Affirmations for Black Girls, embody this principle beautifully. They focus on trusting what they call hidden seasons, those periods when growth happens out of sight, when you feel overlooked or undervalued during your healing journey. Both navigated breakups and identity crises that left them questioning their worth. But instead of allowing those experiences to define them, they developed affirmation based routines, emphasizing self validation rather than seeking external approval. Validation starts with you, they remind their listeners. This simple but profound shift changes everything. Their community has grown exponentially, with listeners crediting them for helping transform pain into preparation and ultimately empowerment. They've popularized affirmation culture among young Black women nationwide, helping redefine hidden seasons not as setbacks, but as sacred space for building foundations anew. This is the power of refusing to be defined by your wounds, of recognizing that healing equips you not just for yourself, but so you can inspire others, of affirming daily, I'm not broken, I'm being built. I want to pause here and acknowledge something important. This message isn't about toxic positivity. It's not about denying pain or pretending everything is fine when it isn't. The fire is real. The pain is real. The challenges are real. What Toy is inviting us to consider is that the meaning we assign to those challenges is up to us. And that meaning makes all the difference. When we view hardship as meaningless suffering, we become victims. When we view it as purposeful preparation, we become protagonists in our own story. The circumstances don't change, but our relationship to them does. And that changes everything. So, what does this mean for you, practically speaking? I'd like to offer you a challenge. Choose one area where you've been hiding your struggle behind silence or perfectionism. Replace it with an act of softness, a boundary set gently but firmly, or an honest conversation about how you're really doing. Speak this affirmation aloud every morning this week. I am not broken, I am being built. Let this truth guide small action toward gentler self leadership each day. Because here's what I believe after speaking with Toy: we are all in various stages of being crowned. Some of us are just entering the fire, some are in the hottest part of the flame, some are emerging transformed. But none of us are exempt from the process. The question isn't whether you'll face fire. The question is, will you recognize it as your crowning? Will you let go of the myth that excellence requires constant sacrifice and instead lead with grace? Will you prioritize your well being not as a luxury, but as a necessity? Will you embrace the idea that what feels like destruction can actually be a divine preparation? I want to leave you with this thought. What if the most revolutionary act in a world that demands your exhaustion is to show up rested? What if the most powerful statement in a culture that worships hustle is to say, I am enough exactly as I am? What if the greatest leadership in spaces that expect you to be superhuman is to model being gloriously, imperfectly human? Today, I challenge you to start a revolution in your own life. Choose one area where you've been burning yourself at both ends and introduce the radical practice of softness. Set that boundary you've been avoiding. Take that rest you've been denying yourself. Have that honest conversation you've been postponing. Because when you choose softness as power, you don't just change your own life, you create a ripple effect that changes the lives of everyone around you. You give others permission to do the same. You become living proof that there's another way. The next time you feel the heat rising, the next time life seems determined to burn everything to the ground, remember, this isn't your ending. It's your crowning moment. The fire isn't consuming you, it's crowning you. And a crown once placed changes how you walk through the world forever. Thank you.